Hello again, and welcome back to Nonprofit Marketing with Purpose. My name is Monica Pitts, and I will be your guide today as we talk through ways to take donations on your website. Now, for those of you who hang out with me often, you're probably wondering how I have not tackled this concept before, because I love talking about websites, and this is a challenge that we solve for our clients every day: how to take donations online. So for those of you who are joining me on the podcast, just realize that you can go over to mayecreate.com, MAYECREATE.com, and you can check out the video with the slide deck. You do not have to take notes while you're driving or running. You can enjoy this in peace and then go download the slide deck for all the goodies later, okay, over on mayecreate.com. So let's get to business. Ways to take donations on your website. The ways that we're going to talk through today is using a form on your website, and also just using a simple button, using a button that you can set up on PayPal or Stripe or Square. And then the last is a widget, using a widget to, and I'll explain all these terms, I swear, in just a second on your website. Okay, so regardless of how you accept donations on your website though, I want you to do something for me. I need you to link to your donate page from the main navigation at the top of every page on your website. Now, when I say navigation, I mean that bar up at the top with all the links to it. Maybe your logo is over on the left. Okay, you got to have the donate link up there. Don't nest it someplace else. It could be a fun button. You could make it colorful so that way people really see it and it's easy to find. But you don't want to hide it underneath a drop-down menu underneath support. It needs to stand alone on that navigation. If you want to also add it underneath the support drop-down menu, that's totally cool. You just link to the same page from both links, okay? You also want to share donation callouts throughout your whole website. Now, a callout is essentially an ad that you put on your website. You'll probably have a picture. You could change the background color. It'll have like some words on it, maybe a title and maybe a sentence underneath it. And then underneath that's going to be a button. And the button takes people to the donate page. And you're going to sprinkle those throughout your website whenever you're talking about the impact that you make and invite people to contribute to your cause so you can even further your mission. Okay? You got to make it obvious. Put it on the main navigation. Don't skip this step. All right, so short vocab lesson before I dig into these different ways. First off, payment gateway. I'm going to say that word a lot. What I mean is the way that you are going to allow your payments to process online. And there's lots of different payment gateways out there. Now, you'll definitely want to pick a payment gateway that integrates with the way that you pick. So the payment gateway that would integrate with your donor management system or your CRM. I know those are on the list. I'll talk about them in a second. Or also, if you're using a form, you're going to have a payment gateway that will integrate with your form. It's essentially a credit card processor that you're going to use to process these credit card payments online. You can use PayPal, you can use Square, you can use Stripe. We really like Stripe. There's others as well, authorize.net. Some of our clients use that. So that's a payment gateway. Allows you to take payments online. It's like a credit card processor. And then we're going to talk about CRM or donor management systems. Now, your CRM, that's just a client relationship manager. It's just a software that's a database that houses all the information for your clients. And the same thing with the donor management system. And sometimes those systems come with like extra marketing goodies and stuff in them. But for our purposes, that's what we're talking about. Those two items that allow you to take donations online. And last but not least, I'm going to use the word widget. Now, a widget is actually like a piece of code that you can generate in your CRM or in your donor management system or even in your payment gateway that will allow you to embed something in your site. Sites allow you to embed these little pieces of HTML code, and depending upon what type of site you have, you would just create basically an HTML block, or it might be an embed block, and then you would put the code into your website. All right, and that's a widget. A widget is code from a third-party provider that makes something show up on your website like a donation form. Okay? Really cool, huh? All right, so now that we have the vocabulary out of the way, let's get down to these different types of websites. So I realize that there are lots and lots of different types of websites out there. My favorite is WordPress. I'll leave the best for last. But I just want to talk really briefly about your options with the different popular types of web creation systems out there. So Squarespace actually offers a donate block that you can use. You would integrate your payment system with it, and it looks like a button. Weebly integrates with Weebly Store. So you would also integrate that payment gateway into Weebly Store. And then if you have the store already set up, you can have a donate products. It also integrates with DonorBox app. So if you use DonorBox as your donor management system, this might work really well for you if you also use Weebly. But then also you can embed stuff in Weebly too. So anything that's embeddable, you can do here. So the buttons, the widgets, got it. Wix, anything that's embeddable. I couldn't find anything specific with Wix, and I don't work in Wix, so I don't necessarily know, but they didn't promote anything other than being able to embed widgets and use the widgets from your donor management systems or from your payment gateways. Now, for these embeddable widgets, the display of them really depends on the system that you're creating them in. You don't have a ton of control over them. So just know that regardless of whether you're using Weebly or Wix, if you're using something that's embeddable, the way that it looks is based on the parent provider, which would be the CRM or the donor management software or the payment gateway. And then we come to WordPress, my favorite, of course, because that's how I build websites, because they're awesome. And two really easy ways that you can get donations through WordPress are using Gravity Forms or Formidable Forms. And I'll go over the pros and cons of using those. But both of those integrate really well with a number of payment gateways. They're very user-friendly, drag and drop form builders that you can use easily and put in your site. Now, there's another plugin. Now, here's another vocab word for you in case you don't know. So plugins for WordPress are ways that you can extend the core functionality of the site itself. So WordPress comes equipped with the ability to design your pages, have a blog, and that's what it's really good and useful for. Put pictures in, embed pictures, videos, that kind of thing. But then you can also extend the functionality by installing a plugin. So Gravity Forms and Formidable Forms, those are plugins. You install them, and then you can use that functionality. Another piece of functionality that you can install on your WordPress site is called GiveWP, which is really neat because it's a whole donor management system that hangs out in WordPress, and then everything's housed in the same spot. There are only 1,000 other ways that you can get donations through WordPress. There's lots of plugins that do it for you, and you can also embed anything. Any of the embeddable options that we talk about today, you can use with WordPress. Now, the forms are highly customizable. You can make them look very different and very specialized. GiveWP is an amazing and powerful plugin, but it is less customizable without having a developer than those forms would be for you. And the payment gateways vary. Each plugin that you could choose would allow itself to incorporate different payment gateways. So just make sure if you already have a payment gateway chosen, like if you use Square or if you use PayPal already and that's what you want to use, then you're going to want to make sure that you pick a plugin that actually works with that. Same goes for any of the donor management systems. Okay, so those are the common website systems and what they will let you do. Now let's dig into each one of these options and look through the pros and the cons. All right, so donations using a form. Now what you need to accept donations using a form is a form builder. That the two I just listed were Gravity Forms and Formidable Forms. Formidable Forms is my favorite. It's awesome, but Gravity is a really good tool too. And you also need a payment gateway. So you need the payment processor. Now the pros to this is that it's super customizable design. You can make it look like whatever you want. And honestly, Gravity Forms and Formidable Forms, a lot of CRMs integrate with them naturally using an API, so it's just an extra thing that you install. But then if not, you can also use Zapier, which is a third-party connector system that'll let them talk as well. There's no monthly fees for these forms, so that's great, right? And depending upon your payment gateway, there won't be monthly fees either. Authorize.net charges a monthly fee, but the others like Square, Stripe, and PayPal, they don't charge monthly fees. Now the cons, as you can tell when I'm even just talking about doing this and integrating it with other things, is that you have to build the form and you have to integrate it with the payment gateway. And if you're going to integrate it with the CRM, then you're going to have to figure out how to integrate it with the CRM. So it's pretty cool because you can gather all kinds of information about your donors and house it in a place that's really easy to use, but you got to have some tech knowledge to get it rolling. So you may have to outsource this to your programmer to get it to happen. Now, here's the simplest way. Like, the simplest way to get donations on your site is using a PayPal or a Stripe button. And I think Square does buttons too. I haven't actually implemented one of those, but all you have to have to do this is a PayPal or Stripe account. That is it. And then you just have to log in and follow the instructions for the button and copy the little code and paste it in your site, and you will get a button. Very fancy. So just describing that, it feels pretty easy to integrate. So if this is the only thing that you can do, do it. Do it. Make that button. You know, you start where you are. Don't be embarrassed about how you can accept donations based on your tech knowledge, right? And honestly, you don't even have to have a website. You could put the button in your email and send people right over to PayPal to pay. Totally fine. You can do it that way. And it's easy for people with PayPal to check out, because they have a PayPal account. Like, I have a PayPal account, and if any time I can, I'm going to use PayPal to check out because it's easier. I don't have to go get my credit card. That's cool. Now, the cons is that if you do have the button on your site, you're going to have people click on it, and then it takes them over to the other site to pay. So they don't pay on your site. They pay on the other site. With the forms, the one that we just talked about, they're paying on your site. It feels like they're paying on your site, okay? This one, you don't feel like you're paying on your site because you're going to another site. And that can make people a little confused because they're like, oh, wait a second, things are changed. And especially since you don't get to customize this page quite as much as you would for like a donor management system, then it can even cause more of like confusion. The other piece is that if you are using PayPal, people without PayPal accounts can get confused about how they can pay, because the first thing PayPal does is ask you to log in. But you can also pay as a guest without ever logging in, but you got to like scroll down and click, and then it's not as easy. It's not as streamlined. So if possible, it's awesome to offer multiple ways, to pay. And that really meets people where they are. But just a few words from the wise about challenges that you can have with these buttons. But just know that if this is all the tech that you have, this is a great way. This will get you started and moving in the right direction where you need to go. Okay, so then donations using a widget. So remember the widgets, that like little piece of code, that snippet of code that you're going to take out of your CRM or donation platform. So you have to have a CRM or a donor management system or a donation platform that you've signed up for and that you're using to be able to use this method. Sometimes you need a payment gateway for those, okay? Not always. Some donor management systems, some donation platforms, they have the like payment processing included in their like system and in their software, but not all of them do. So that's just one thing to check on. Make sure you've got it if you need it. And you just log in and you make your form, and then you copy it. You copy the code, and then you go into your website and you embed it. And it's the same thing that you would do with your buttons, right? You just copy the code and you're embedding it. So the pros with this is that it really does integrate with your CRM seamlessly. You're taking donations and they go right into your CRM. You know the accounting is there. That's awesome. It's really awesome to have all the stuff in one spot and you're not exporting anything and trying to reconcile stuff. You often get a semi-customizable look depending upon your CRM or donor management system, because some of them really do let you do a lot of customization. You can change the picture up at the top, you can change the colors, and you can make it look more like your site. And they're pretty easy to set up because they're made for people with less tech knowledge to go in and set up. The cons are that a lot of these services charge monthly or annual charges, and you can get you're going to get less customization with this than if you used a donation form that you built with a form builder, right? Because you're restricted by the system that you're in. You guys hear the motorcycle outside? Is that awesome or what? Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, I have like noise dampening curtains, but apparently the motorcycle is just going to come right on through it. Okay, so those are the 3 ways that I wanted to talk through on how to make donations on your website. You can do it using a form, right? And a lot of times that's a plugin on your website. The second way that you can do it is using a button. So you can use a PayPal button. You can use a Square button. I'm pretty sure they have buttons. Like I said, I haven't done the square buttons, but then also you can use a stripe button. You can also do a widget, right? And the button is essentially doing a widget, but this widget that I'm talking about here is from your CRM or your donor management software, and you go in, you format the site, and then copy it. Boof, there you go. Okay, so now let's talk about how you can pick the right one for you. So, the first thing I want you to think through is, what do you already have? Because there's no reason to recreate the wheel. If you already have a donor management software that you use, please use a widget. If you already have a website, please put it on your website. Boom, decision made, you've got it down, right? Now, the next question to ask yourself is like, how do you manage your donor information? If you don't have a way that you manage it right now, then you can pick whatever you want, like whatever's most comfortable for you, right? I just did an interview with Enola White where she talks about how her organization uses Square as their donor management system, which is pretty clever. I use Stripe and I can see all of my clients' information in Stripe. So you can use those easy payment processors as a donor management system if that's where you're at right now. So how do you manage your donor information? You want to make sure that everything integrates with your website and that it's not hard to use. And then ask yourself, where are you most comfortable? Because if you're most comfortable working in your donor management system, then you're going to want to make sure that all the information gets in there, right? So then the widget is absolutely the best choice for you. But if that interface, if you don't even have one, then go with the button. The button's a great choice. Or if you love working in your website and you want better than a button, then you can go with the form and make something that's highly customized for yourself. And just remember that you don't necessarily have to pick just one. You could have a PayPal button. Heck, you could have people have the ability to donate on Facebook. You can have a form. Just make sure that when you're running a campaign, you're very clear about how you accept your donations and where you want them to go. So when you're doing your messaging for your letters or your emails asking for donations, just send them over to your website to the donate page. And then on the donate page, explain to them that you accept a check, that you accept recurring donations, that you accept PayPal donations or Amazon Smile or whatever you're doing, right? I mean, don't overwhelm them if it is an actual campaign. But that's the place to talk about it, not in your campaign messaging. You want to be very succinct in what you want them to do. Go to the website, donate. Woohoo! There you go. Okay, so I just wanted to briefly go through a donation form checklist with you because now we've talked about all these different ways that you can accept donations on your website. And as you're evaluating these different systems that you might use to accept donations like off of your website, say that CRM or the donor management system, or even just putting the Stripe button or the PayPal button on, you want to do it right. And there's some things to think through. Okay, so the first thing I want you to consider is suggesting amounts and allowing the donors to also just choose their own amount for the donation. So you might have $20, $50, $300, or an open donation field. One thing that works really well is like equating the amount to what it can do for your organization. $20 is 20 meals, $50 is 50 meals, right? Because it feels different. It feels better to the donor when they know what they're giving. You can also allow your donors to choose a specific cause or project to donate to, or ask them to just donate to your general fund. This is something that you can offer them. Not everybody does it. A lot of organizations do need to have donations just to their general fund. So just consider, do you want your donors to be able to choose where they make an impact in your organization? And you could try it and see how it goes. Maybe they do give to the general fund, but also you don't want to pigeonhole what you can use all of your donations with. You need to be able to use some of them to run your organization as well. Ask them if they would like to donate an extra percentage to cover the credit card fees. This is awesome. You should totally do this. We implemented this in our Como Gives campaign 2 years ago. Now, Como Gives is my community's month-long, year-end online giving campaign. It supports this year it'll be 152 of our local organizations. It's powered by the Community Foundation of Central Missouri, and Make Create, my company, is the marketing arm, and we do the web design for it, and like we power the campaign in the way that the Community Foundation doesn't, which is through technology. And 2 years ago, we allowed our donors to cover the costs of the credit card fees. And well over half of them did. Like over 60% covered the transaction fees, which is so cool because in a campaign that's raising $1.8 million for our local nonprofits, that is a lot of credit card fees at 3%. And that money went right back to our nonprofits. So ask, you will be surprised and overwhelmed with the generosity of your donors and their willingness to cover those fees for you. I know I always am. Okay, so then you're going to decide if you want to allow recurring donations. And if you do, make sure that you choose a platform and a payment gateway that make that possible for you. After a donation is made, you want to make sure that your system sends out an immediate thank you and success email to your donors and a receipt. This does not negate your responsibility to send them a thank you letter. You still got to send them a thank you. You still have to tell them that they're awesome. And you should also give them the immediate pop of information saying this went through and it's a transaction that happened. Okay, so then last but not least, I want you to make sure that your donation form is mobile friendly because more and more people use their phones for just everyday browsing. They really do. So before you decide that your donation form is done, I want you to open it up and look at it on your phone. Like, look at it. Does it work? Because if it doesn't, then it's not going to work for them either. So make sure it works on your phone. Okay, friends, there you have it. The ways to take donations on your website as well as a donation checklist. Okay, if you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe if you're hanging out with me on YouTube. And if you're on the podcast, please subscribe to our podcast. You know, we're on Amazon Music. We're on iTunes. We're also on Spotify and Google Play. If you haven't ever checked out the podcast before, there's lots of stuff on there that's not on this YouTube channel to hang out with. And then last but not least, we have so many downloadable resources on makecreate.com. So hop on over to makecreate.com and download a free resource that can help you take your nonprofit to the next level. So thank you so much for your time today. I hope that you enjoyed this awesome website-driven conversation. Once again, my name is Monica Pitts. I'm with Make Create Design. And until next time, go forth and market with purpose.